Scott, thank you. Thank you so much for those kind words. Fellow patriots and freedom lovers, thank you for coming together to mark this important new beginning. And make no mistake, this is just a beginning. This is the beginning of like-minded people standing together in unison, regardless of whether we agree on every single issue, to say that we are now gravely concerned that those who will take our rights are not playing games. They are serious people, and they're to be taken seriously. And most of all, they're playing for keeps. What they want is to keep control over you and I. Listen to that. Let that sink in. They want to keep control over you and I. That's what every bit of gun control ever was in the history of the world.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's what it's all about. It's all about control. It always has been. History dictates that. But in our American experience of history, control didn't come through the front door like it did in some places. It came knocking in the back door. 100 years ago it came there. They spent the better part of a century, these controllers, wearing us down, playing the ground and pound game that I wish the Jets could play, but they can't, but that's besides the point. But they take a pebble at a time. But like sharks in the water, they smell blood. They're nearing their prize. They have their champion in the White House. They have the gladiators in Congress. And unfortunately, they have the lapdogs of the Republican Party willing to play ball for a taste of the spoils.
Yeah, that's right. That's our problem.
All of the chess pieces are lined up on the board. There's only one thing that deters them. Our founders were smart enough to leave us protected from what they feared would happen. They left us with a beautiful Second Amendment and a complete set of instructions on its use and meaning. Now, looking out over this crowd that's assembled here in the rain today, it seems that no one here needs a refresher course on the purpose of the Second Amendment. I think it's very well understood here. But everyone here does know that before any governmental tyranny imposed on any people could be realized, full disarmament of the people had to occur. History's full of examples of the successes of this policy. I'd like to touch on two of those successful tyrannies: Nazi Germany and Mao's China. Both regimes of oppression and control had as a basic tenet of its plan for success a fundamental notion that the opposition must be neutralized. Being that they're two 20th century examples, of course, gun control was at the top of this list. Now, Nazi Germany is probably the example that is most alluded to when we're talking about this issue. And it wouldn't be wrong to study the Nazis' use of gun control and the atrocities that they perpetrated, not only on the world, but on their own people. But there's a single problem with using the Nazi example. They were a most ruthless regime, using savage violence as a hallmark of their genocides. So people are lulled into believing that in the United States, we could never sink to that level. And they might be right. In fact, I kind of think that they're right. So the argument is discounted, and that makes it difficult to get people to see the need to protect our right to defend ourselves. Of course, people like us will quickly point out that there are already so many levels of soft tyranny that we're accepting. So don't be fooled into thinking that these things cannot happen here. We have the NDAA, again, supported by our congressman across the street. The NDAA says the military can detain a U.S. citizen for any reason, deny you your due process, all your rights to be represented, and even a right to a trial at any time for any reason. The Patriot Act, also supported by Congressman Grimm, allows the government to surveil an American citizen with no probable cause and no due process. So don't think the infrastructure for a Nazi-like regime is not in place, because it certainly is. Now, having said that, I don't believe any of this stuff about my government. I don't believe they're Nazi-like. I don't think that they're ready to mow down citizens with weapons. But does that mean that it's okay to lay down my defense? Absolutely not. I think that the chances are pretty slim. Even though the initial violence, if the most hardcore social radicals were to take over, would make the things that we saw in Newtown look like a candy shop. But I think what happened in Mao's China is what we should be frightened of. In that case, as part of Mao's Great Leap Forward, remember that word forward, from 1957 to 1960, up to 30 million Chinese starved to death after the communization of the economy. Now, does that sound like anything that they're talking about doing about here? They're talking about communizing the economy. They're talking about redistribution of wealth. It sure sounds like it to me. So this is what I would be afraid of. I would not be afraid that they're going to come at you and shoot you. I would be afraid that they're going to starve you to death with their stupid policies, and you're not going to have any way to defend yourself.
Yeah!